Have you ever just looked at your paycheck and wondered, why this number? Why does one person earn 10, 20, or even 100 times more than someone else? It can feel like this big, complicated mystery. But you know what? There's actually some pretty clear economic logic behind it all. Okay, let's dive in and really unpack what goes into your salary.
I mean, just look at this. On one side, you've got surgeons making over $90 an hour, and way down on the other end, fast food workers are earning around 8. That is a huge gap. So what is it that makes a single hour of a surgeon's time worth more than 11 times that of a fast food worker? That is the big question we're going to answer right now.
So to really get to the bottom of this, we first need to understand how economists think about work itself. And it all starts with a few basic, foundational ideas. So, in the world of economics, the work you do, we call that labor. And it's just one of 4 factors of production. Think of these as the absolute core ingredients needed to make, well, pretty much anything. So, to understand wages, you have to think of labor as something that's bought and sold in a marketplace, just like machinery or a piece of land. All right, now for the interesting part. Let's peek behind the curtain on the employer's side of things. When a company is deciding whether to hire you, they're not just pulling a number out of thin air. Nope. They're actually using a surprisingly simple formula to figure out exactly what you're worth to their business.
Let's imagine a place called Angelo's Bakery. The first worker he hires can make 7 loaves of bread an hour. Great. Now when Angelo brings in a second person, the bakery's total output jumps to 13 loaves. But notice this? This is interesting. The second worker didn't add another 7 loaves. They only added 6. This simple idea is absolutely crucial. It's called marginal product, the extra output you get from adding one more worker. And as you can see, it usually starts to go down as you add more and more people.
But here's the thing. A bakery doesn't run on loaves of bread, right? It runs on money. So the most important step is turning that marginal product, those extra loaves, into cold, hard cash. That's what we call the value of marginal product, or VMP. So if a loaf of bread sells for $2, that second worker who added 6 extra loaves, their VMP is $12. That's the magic number the employer really cares about. And this brings us to the golden rule that pretty much every company follows. A company will keep hiring people as long as the value that person brings in, their VMP, is more than or at least equal to what it costs to pay them. The second your value dips below your wage, well, from a purely financial standpoint, it just doesn't make sense for them to employ you anymore. It's really that black and white. Okay, so that's the company side of things. But that's only half the equation, isn't it? What about your side? Your decision to even show up to work is its own constant balancing act. Think about it like this internal tug of war you're constantly playing. On one hand, a higher wage is a pretty powerful motivator. Every hour you spend kicking back on the couch is an hour you could have been earning that higher rate. That's called the substitution effect. But on the other hand, once you start making enough money, you can afford to buy more of everything. And that includes your own free time. You might just decide you'd rather work a little less and actually enjoy the fruits of your labor. And that's the income effect. So now we've got our 2 main players on the field. The company, demanding labor based on the value it creates, and you, the worker, supplying labor based on your own personal trade-offs. The real magic happens when we bring them both together in the marketplace. So in a perfect world, a really competitive market, think about bakers in a huge city, for example, you've got tons of bakers looking to hire and tons of people who know how to bake. The demand from all those companies and the supply from all those workers, they meet at one perfect point. We call that the equilibrium. And in this case, the market naturally settles on a wage of $10 an hour and 300 people get jobs. But let's be real. The real world isn't always so neat and tidy. Sometimes one side of the market, either the buyers or the sellers of labor, has a lot more power, and that can totally change the game. So think of a labor union. What they're essentially doing is acting like a monopoly, but for labor. By getting all the workers together and controlling the supply, they can collectively bargain for higher wages. And it works. They can push that wage up from, say, $10 to $15. But here's the trade-off. At that new higher price, companies can't afford to hire as many people. So overall employment in that industry often goes down. Okay, now let's flip that script entirely. What happens when the power is all on the employer's side? That's what we call a monopsony, a market where there's basically only one big buyer of labor. The classic example is that small town where pretty much everyone works for the one big factory or the one local hospital. In that scenario, the company holds all the cards. And since they're the only game in town, they don't have to compete with anyone for workers. So what do you think they do? Exactly. They pay a lower wage and hire fewer people than you'd see in a healthy, competitive market. They're maximizing their own profits, but it comes at the expense of the workers. But this is where the story takes a really weird, unexpected turn. Okay, this is where things get wild, so stick with me. What happens if you introduce a minimum wage into one of these powerful monopsony towns? So let's say the big factory was paying $10 an hour and hired 100 people. Then the government comes in and says, nope, the minimum wage is now $15. You'd think they'd hire even fewer people, right? Wrong. In this very specific situation, the minimum wage actually forces them to change their calculations, and it suddenly becomes profitable for them to hire more workers, even at the higher wage. Both wages and employment can go up. It's one of the most counterintuitive results in all of economics.
All right, so now that we're armed with all these concepts, VMP, supply and demand, and market power, let's circle all the way back to that first big question and finally solve the mystery.
Here we are again. So why does that surgeon make so much? Well, their value of marginal product, it's just off the charts. One successful surgery can bring in tens of thousands of dollars for a hospital. At the same time, the supply of people who can actually do that job is incredibly small. So you have super high demand and super low supply. Now look at the fast food worker. The VMP of one more burger is, well, it's pretty low. And the supply of people who can do that job, it's huge. Low demand, high supply. So when you boil it all down, your paycheck really comes down to three key things. First, it starts with the direct, measurable value you create for your company, your VMP. Second, it gets shaped by the classic forces of supply and demand for your particular skill set. And finally, it can be bent and twisted by power players in the market, whether that's a strong union or a single dominant employer.
And that's really the final idea I want to leave you with. Now that you know the basic rules of the game, how do you think they're going to play out with the rise of automation and AI? Think about your own job. What happens to your value of marginal product when a machine can do a big chunk of what you do, but faster and cheaper? That is the billion-dollar question that these same economic rules are going to have to answer, and probably sooner than we think.